Thank you, Amy and Don. I'm so happy that we're all here together today for our Diversity and Aging project, our Diversity and Aging Conversation, which is a joint project between the College of St. Scholastica's Office of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion and Duluth Aging Support. This is a part of Duluth Aging Support's community conversations. We're really excited today to be talking with our guest, Don LaPrairie. I'm Mimi Stender, the Executive Director of Duluth Aging Support. Amy, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself next?
Certainly, thank you, Mimi. My name is Amy Bergstrom, and I serve as the Chief Diversity Officer at the College of St. Scholastica, and I'm happy to be here today for this conversation.
And Don, how about you? Would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Don LaPrairie, and I'm a member of the Fond du Lac Band of Lake Superior, Chippewa. Me o menik wa ikaduyan nongom. I'm happy to be here today. Nagachi Wanang Nindunjaba. I'm from Fond du Lac Reservation. Nagachi Wanang Gikunu Amate Wegami Gum in Danoki. I work at Fond du Lac Ojibwe School. Nimanoya Gae Nimiwandam Oma Ayaya Nongom. It's a good day, and I'm happy to be speaking with you all. Ningo Dwa Semedana Ashi Ingo Dwaswe Ninda Babunagizian. You're gonna have to figure out that number in Ojibwe. That's how many moons old I am. So you better look that up. Miigwich Bizendawieg, and I'm telling you, thank you for listening to me.
We're happy to have you. Amy and I thought we'd start the conversation off around what does successful aging look like in your community and your experience?
I think that within my community, aging is something that as elders, there's a respect and wisdom that is given to us, and that when I think of successful aging, I think about that role as an elder and my responsibility to other members, of our community. And when I think of other members, I think of other elders. I mean, for myself, I have elders that are older than me, and I'm the one that is taking care of them. And then for myself, I have nieces and nephews and aunts that take care of me. So it's kind of a responsibility through ages that we take on that role and that we help one another. And I think that successful aging, that term, is like throughout us. And when I say us, I'm talking about me getting old.
Thank you, Don. Can you talk a little bit about what are the impacts of aging on women, and particularly on Native women?
What I think about is for Native women is I think about the health disparities, and I think about other communities, because I feel that our reservation, Fond du Lac, and our health system that we have. We have a satellite office in Duluth, you know, the Center for American Indian Resources. So we have that clinic there, and then we have a clinic on the res. And what I think about is I think about some of those pieces that are missing within our healthcare system, that we're not able to get things for instance, both my mother and, well, all my family on my mother's side all died of cancer. Okay. And my mother, you know, like she would go to the doctor. And it was like, okay, would that be the same healthcare if my mother was non-native? You know, would she, you know, have better resources for her? And then my mother, that was, you know, like 15 years ago, 20 years ago almost. And my aunt was just recently, you know, and for her, it was like her diagnosis, because was too late, you know. So if I were, or if she were, you know, a Chimokaman woman, okay, if she were non-native, okay, and I don't want to offend anybody, but if she were white, you know, would there be something that would have happened for her earlier in order to help her, you know, with her disease, you know? So I think about that, and I think about what, as a Native woman, okay, I think about having those like education for myself, advocating for myself, asking questions, and thinking, well, why not? Why can't I get a second opinion? Why can't I go to why can't I go down to Mayo Clinic? You know, why can't I do these things? So I guess for myself is that I have to be aware of what's out there, research things, find out information, ask questions. But for other Native women, I don't know if they would have that. Well, I'm talking in general throughout Indian country. Okay. I think that for myself, our healthcare system that we have on the reservation and that we have with our doctors is high quality. Okay. Whereas if I were in another area, even within Minnesota, if I was in Cass Lake, you know, I don't think I would have such services as I do on my own home reservation. So there's those differences and those disparities of how you get those resources, you know.
Yeah, sounds like you're talking about the disparities even within and among Indian country that exists, depending on, location, if you will. Don, you talked a little bit about disparities, particularly health disparities in Indian country. Can you elaborate that a little bit in terms of what are some of the statistics that we face as Native people when it comes to longevity and health disparities?
Well, I think back to like the 70s, okay, when my parents were, when I was, 16. And at that time, what the life expectancy of Native Americans at that time was 47 years old, and it was like, wow, I mean, my mom and dad, my dad passed away when he was 56. My mother passed away when she was 66. So it's like Pine Ridge Reservation, even today, which is the poorest reservation within Indian country throughout the nation, their life expectancy is 66.8. I'm 66 and a half now. So then you look at that reservation, 66.8, and nationally, the life expectancy of Native Americans today is 73.5. That's a difference than being non-native. Being non-native, and it's like, okay, why is this? This is 2021. Right away when COVID, the isolation and the lockdown happened, I think that right away our tribal government, and I'm talking about the reservation business committee, they immediately put into action a plan that we didn't want COVID to hit our people like it did in other areas of the country, particularly the Navajo Nation. And I think that right away, there was that action plan in which they took the initiative that, elders were going to be taken care of, elders that needed basic things as food or getting to stores or getting supplies. They helped us and would, deliver those products for us, that food or whatever we needed. And I think that what it is that group of elderly people, are play an important role within our community. They're the elders, and we take care of one another. We help each other. It's like if somebody is needing something or whatever, you step up and you provide it. So I think that our community has done that, and that I think some of the things that that isolation, they've have usually, okay, for elderly on our reservation, we would have they'd have weekly events where there's exercise classes, nutrition classes, all these things that elders would come in and do. Okay, so now what they're doing is that Zoom, okay, we're going to exercise on Zoom, with the elders, so they're they can't go to the pool, but they're still trying to provide those things that our elders need. And I think that, that it's important because, some of our elders hold a lot of traditional knowledge that if we lost them, that is lost too.
You had mentioned in a prior conversation that we had that the age of an elder is 52. Will you
Yeah.
talk a little bit more about that?
Well, I think that, on our reservation, it's 52, okay? 52, you're considered an elder. And I think that the reason that that came about was because of the life expectancy of our Native people.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, 52, it was like, okay, they'll come and they'll plow my driveway for me, okay? They'll come and they'll shovel for me. And when I say they, I'm talking about our tribal resources, okay? So there's those types of things that are basic needs that because of our health conditions or whatever's 52 was the age. So that's why, that came about. I think about just my family, and I think about my mother and my dad, my brothers, my sisters. My dad, like I said, he was 56. My mother was 66. My brother was 50. My sister was 51. My other two siblings, they were like 21 and 23. Now I have my sister who is a year older than me, and I have my brother that is 2 years older than me. Out of 7, I have 3 family members left. Okay.
Wow.
None of them lived to be 65 except my mother. Okay. And she got her benefits from Social Security, Medicare, whatever it is. And 4 months later, she passed away. But it's like, not only myself, but other community members that when you work all your life, okay, you think, okay, I'm going to retire and I'm going to get Social Security. A lot of them, it's almost like, hey, is Social Security a curse or what? Because I thought that about myself. I thought, I don't know if I want to get Social Security because I'll probably die in 6 months. So maybe I should wait.
Oh, that's funny. That's great. And it really lends, perspective to some of I would argue, some of the unique challenges that we face in Indian country, predominantly as we age, through the life cycle. And one of the things you touched on a little bit earlier, Don, was the notion, in my mind, I think about it as kind of coming full circle, if you will, but the idea of caregiving and what that looks like in particular within our family structures and within our tribal communities. So can you talk a little bit about the idea of caregiving and what that looks like in particular in Indian country a little bit, and maybe some of the challenges and the rewards of that process?
I think what I think about is I think about our teachings. One of the teachings is to respect and honor elders. And it's like when I would be with people within a group that were older than me, okay, they were the elder to me, okay. They could tell me, my girl, go get me some coffee, and I'd go and get it, or being there with them, it was like I was this young person taking care of them, but yet within that same circle, I could have my niece and she's waiting on me. So it's like this circle of everybody that you show respect, you help one another. Things are done for you. It's not in a way that, oh, now I gotta wait on her again, now she's telling me, it's not like that at all. It's like a responsibility that everyone has, that you help our elders, that you take care of them, that you show that respect for them, because they have that wisdom that they might be teaching you something. And then I would pass that on to my niece. We take care of one another. It's my they would always do things for others and our elderly that were just needed to be done.
Mhm.
It wasn't like, okay, oh no, Peggy's, steps are all full of snow. You'd go over there and you'd shovel her out, simple things like that. Yeah.
I really appreciate the way you've been able to articulate, culturally responsive, care and really that perspective that's grounded in community and value based and culture based for particularly tribal communities in our region. So I don't, Mimi, do you have other questions for Don, or I feel like we've covered kind of the four that we wanted to cover, or?
I've appreciated this conversation so much. There's so much to learn here. I feel very blessed that you were able to spend your time with us today. I know you're very busy. You're an educator and you're taking time out of your busy day. Thank you so much. This was great.
Yeah. I think the message that I would like to bring is that that I'm proud of how our communities and how our people, take care of our elderly, and it's like we look out for them, we respect them, and it's like they're the wisdom that as a community that they embrace, and maybe sometimes maybe they wouldn't talk about these things, okay, but yet if you just spend some time with some of these elderly people, and I'm talking in general, I'm talking about everybody, that they have a story, they have knowledge that they would bring us, and that all we need to do is listen, or ask questions, but it's those kind of things that elderly people, that they have. And I'm just fortunate to have good ears and to remember. But I just want to say, it's been a pleasure to be here today, and that and I'm excited about this endeavor here, and miigwech and gigawabamen minoa. I will see you again.
Thank you, Don. Thank you, Don, so much for sharing your stories and your knowledge with us.
All right.
Thank you.
See you later. Gigawabamen.
You go up.